Okay, guys, welcome to part three of this just a fascinating study in the Greek Septuagint. Okay, we saw some differences here and there with this Greek Bible, so called Biblos of the Old Testament. And we saw in our last study of it, now we're in Isaiah, but we're looking at the plural pronouns for God. And we already looked at the Hebrew Naase, Mimenu, Nereda, Lanu. And then we're going to look at some other things like, Jehovah said to Adonai, or Yahweh said to Adonai, sit at my right hand from Psalm 110 or 109. Psalms has it at 109 and not 110, 110, I should say. And so I broke off because the thing is that the battery was low on my phone and kept on dimming off. So I might introduce that as an appendix so you could just see and enjoy what I recorded anyway in about 5 minutes. But this is going to be the main vein study of Isaiah chapter 6 verse 8. But we're going to take some time. So far we have seen, okay, and we didn't look at Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 because it's not in the plural like the Hebrew is. Elohim is plural. If you see, and let me just look at it real quickly, because we didn't look at it. So I'll go back to Isaiah, I should say. Let me go to Genesis and look at the Greek, because theos is not in the plural. It doesn't say the oi in the nominal is plural, and that's to avoid problems, because you don't want to, because first of all, it's written in Greek, and then even though the Greek was written around 300 years BC, translating the Hebrew scriptures, there was still false gods, hanging around Greek thinking. So you don't want to say, hoi theoi or anything like that. Let's just read it real quickly before we get into Isaiah, because we didn't really touch upon that. It says, "Enarche epoiesen," that's in the aorist. We'll look at it. Epoiesen hateas tan uranan. That's in the singular, strangely enough, because the Hebrew is hashimayim is in the plural, the im. Kai tain gain. Enarche epoiesen hateas tan uranan kai tain gain. Okay. Now it says over here, "Enarche," that's a prepositional phrase that's found and recorded, okay, a handful of times in the New Testament. John 1:1 and 2. And then you have, I believe, verse 15 of chapter 4 of Philippians, and arche maybe another time in the Greek New Testament. So it's only found a few times. But it's very important, the contrast between John 1:1 and 2 and this verse, because this has to do with creation. It could have said very easily if Jesus was a creature, and you got to tell the witnesses, this so-called Jehovah's Witnesses. It could have said, "Anarche epoias and hateas ha logos." Okay, "Anarche epoiasen hateas ha logos." In the beginning, God created the what? It doesn't say that. It doesn't say in the beginning was the angel. It doesn't say in the beginning was Michael. It doesn't say in the beginning was even the Son. The continuous existence of the Son, like that he was always the Son, not created, but always the Son. It doesn't even say that. And he became the Son. "I will be to him a father, he will be to me a son." And you see that recorded. Without father, no, without mother, apetron, ametron. You see all that recorded in Hebrews 1:5 and 6 and 5:5 and 7:3. You see, so that's just he wasn't created. He wasn't a creature. He created tapanta all things. Verse 3 of chapter 1 of John. You understand? Energe. Okay, energe epoiesin. Now, epoiesin is very important here. So let's just look at this. Poieo is the epsilon contract verb here. Okay, poieo, I make, whatever the case may be. It could be I create, or I just make. I make myself to be somebody. I make somebody to be somebody. What it doesn't necessarily mean create. So be careful when the witnesses use or misuse The same word found and recorded in verse 36 of chapter 2 of Praxis Apostolon, the Acts of the Apostles. It doesn't mean that he created him, okay, both Lord and Christ. Okay, look at chapter 10. He anointed him. So that's easy. Christ. He made him Christ. But what does it mean? He made him Lord. Does it mean that he created him? No, because the same word poieo is found and recorded around verse 27 of chapter 10 of John's Gospel. Like I said in the body of the study, for the Jews complaining that Jesus made himself to be God. Now he didn't. They wasn't saying that he put himself into a test tube and created himself from scratch. It said that he made himself to be somebody according to them that he was not. Okay, so you can the Bible is filled with poieo, and sometimes it means create, and sometimes not. It wasn't katesis. There is no mentioning of katesis for Jesus anywhere that God the Father or God katesis created Christ. That's a very strict meaning of that word is very strict and narrowed only to create. Katesis is found nowhere for Jesus being a creature. Katesis, I'm talking about, Now, I mentioned that, in verse 26, katesis may be there, but, it's very hard to tell with ancient words, with kappa and alpha and mu there. It does means to create, but katesis means to make, to create strictly. So I'm just saying that in other part of the study, I did mention that the katesis might be there, but whatever the case may be, that word does mean to create, but it's not the other subjunctive poieo. This is an aorist tense. The epsilon is here. The augment is before the consonant. That's like our ed in English, but before a word that begins with a consonant. Because the augment is showing time. It's showing past time, by the way. So you have the augment, then you have poie, okay, the eta before the transformative lengthen the epsilon there, and that's a normal thing. And then the sigma and epsilon in the third person singular is a very normal thing as well, just like kappa epsilon for the perfect tense in some instances. Sometimes it's just kappa, and sometimes it's just sigma, like that, But this is sigma epsilon for the first person singular, and then you got the nu there. Okay, so that's just it. I made a sort of grouping of these things. You see, the present, the future, and the perfect. Okay, using primary active, and passive constructions. It's only when you get to the aorist tense and the perfect tense do you see, the second primary active personal endings. So that nu there is that. So where you have erge, n is spelled out. It's a preposition showing the relationship between two words, and so that's just the deal. So it's showing what God did in the beginning of time. So the relationship between arche and God is here. And N is spelled out capital epsilon, and then small nu, nowadays called ni. Arche, nowadays pronounced archi, modern Greek, alpha ro, chi, eta, nowadays called eta, like I said before. That's in the dative case. The prepositional phrase, NRK is here. The object of the preposition arche. Preposition is n, one of maybe like 17 small prepositions in Greek. And so that's just it. That's in the dative case. It's always taking the dative case n. Apoiesin, like I said, created. Okay, hatheas, he's the subject of the verb, and it's the subject nominative. He's is a regular subject nominative use. That is a very common thing, I should say. Energe apoiesin hatheas. Theos is in the nominative singular. It doesn't say hoi theoi. to avoid, that to avoid a sort of idea that many gods were involved in creation. Okay, so I think that keeping it in the singular is good, because you have Elohim in the singular, El in the singular, a Hebrew word for God rather, in a singular. El, Psalm 102 has it one time, El, so the Aleph, Sede, and then Lamet. So I mean, you have the singular and the plural in Hebrew. So why not have it in Greek? But it does avoid mythology. Hatheas, Greek mythology. Hatheas tan urana, that's in the singular. Okay, so the full paradigm in the singular is Uranas, Uranu, Urano, Uranan, Uranoi, Uranon, and Uranois, Uranus. I mean, it's full paradigm for the singular and the plural. But this is in the singular, and that's kind of strange because in the Hebrew it's actually in the plural, heavens actually. Kai nowadays pronounced ke, tain, gain, the earth. Interestingly enough, before we go to Isaiah, there's a word here that means invisible. Hey de ge, which means earth. Let's see. Hopefully it's in this Greek Septuagint, though. Skatia darkness. Wait a minute. What's going on? My baby's waking up, so I better go. I have to make her milk. She's not fully awake yet. She's just groaning right now. Let me see if this has Aaratas here, though. It might not have Aaratas. Spirit of God. Now, the Jehovah's Witnesses are going to have to translate this, okay? I saw a spirit of a God hovering over the waters, or whatever the case, moving over the waters, because it says over here, Panuma without the ta and Theu without the tu. Okay, so I mean, they're going to have to be honest with themselves. They're going to have to, translate this in if they were translating from it, a spirit of a God. That's the same thing going on, I believe, in Matthew chapter 3, that they will have to translate. And they'll probably say to you, well, we don't have to translate this because this is Greek and we translate from the Hebrew. Well, how about the Greek translating from the Greek in the baptism account of Jesus? You still have the same thing going on there. Okay, panuma theu in most of the manuscripts, right? So what's your translation there? I saw a spirit of a God descending on Jesus, or whatever the case may be. Can't get away with it there from Matthew. We might get away with it here, but it's the same thing going on. If you were to use the thinking of the Jehovah's Witnesses, that something doesn't have an article and then something is indefinite because it doesn't have an article. They just don't understand that there are 10 different ways, said Dan Wallace, that a Greek noun can be definite without the weak demonstrative, without the article. Okay, you understand? That's a very basic, common thing. It doesn't have invisible here, though. Amar fas kai eremas kai skatas darkness epiapon the face. Oh, prosopul, the face. Panim in Hebrew. Tes buso, face of the deep. In the Spirit of God. Oh, why I keep on doing that? In the Spirit of let me see, it's verse 2. Where am I at again? Panuma, the Spirit of God is hey, it's so frustrating. As I wish there was a button that would, just stop that, Hudaton of the waters in the plural. I don't see aratas here. So this Greek Septuagint is different from the one that I'm accustomed of using. But other Greek Septuagints, okay, has aratas, which means invisible. Okay, and I never see, okay, aratas parousia, invisible presence, or invisible coming anywhere for Jesus in the Bible. That's what I'm trying to say anyway, even though it's not here. It would have been delicious if it was here, but it's just gravy on the top of our study anyway. So Jesus coming invisibly, found and recorded in their, Sign of the Son of Man magazine, or what do you want to call it, article, way back in 74. I think I bought the 74 issues in one book form, and they had things about drinking. Okay, what are you gonna be concerned about drinking and other things? So if you see the articles based in 1974, the collection of them, I don't know if you can still get them on Amazon. I had 74 and 75. Most of their articles, they don't even talk about the coming of Jesus. You would think if they would really believe what they're teaching, all of the articles of the, like maybe 24 articles or whatever it was. I think it was like 24 articles, right? Would be all about Jesus's return and not, about drinking and about this and about that or whatever the case may be. You understand what I'm saying? So anyway, let's go to Isaiah now before my baby fully awakes, and then I have to do a part 4. We looked at that. Let us make poeo man. There's another word there, I believe, in Greek Septuagint, and in this one though. But anyway, we could rehash everything later. Time is of the essence. So let's go to. Isn't this frustrating though? Let's go to. That's the book of Job. So Isaiah is after that. Ecclesiastes right there, and then there's Isaiah right here. So let's go to chapter 6. And then I apologize if I have to go. You won't really notice it because I'll be editing anyway, So let's just look at it. It says in verse 8, and heard, okay, I heard, if you could say, and Greek word kai ekusa, that's in the aorist tense again, sigma and alpha. It's pointing out the aorist. It'll be ekusa, ekusas, ekuse, like that, for the present. And then you have to see the augment there, the eta lengthening the alpha, because it begins with a vowel, so the vowel is lengthened, and that's the augment there. Eta, it's like our ed in English, if roughly speaking. Kai is showcasing time. Kai, and this is first aorist, by the way. Sigma alpha, that's first aorist. Aku is the stem, and then the sigma alpha is the aorist tense morpheme tagged after this. Kai ekusa, I heard. Ekusa is heard. Talking about past time, it has to augment. Tain phonane, and that's in the accusative case. The article tain, that's a feminine accusative article, and phonane is feminine accusative, singular, not voices but voice. And so the accusative case is the case of limitation, is limiting what kind of voice, whose voice this belongs to, or what voice is it. Is limiting to the Lord only. He heard the voice of the Lord. Tain phonane, spelled out phonane, spelled out phi, omega, nu, nowadays called ni, eta, nowadays called eta, nu, of the Lord. Tu kuriu, that's in the genitive. Full paradigm for the Lord is kurias, kuriu, kurio, kurian, kurioi, drop in there kurie in the vocative or vocative, whatever. Kurio, kurion, kuriois, and kurius. This is a first declension word. It's talking about, it's translating the Lord, probably Yahweh in the Hebrew. Okay, the voice of the Lord saying legantes. Now this is a participle, and so that's just the deal. Now this participle, I believe. Okay, I believe is a genitive case ending there. Genitive case ending. Looks like nominative though, right? But I believe is a case ending in the genitive. Okay, legantes. And so leg is the stem that has the word say there. I say, right? And then the omicron is a pronunciation or connecting vowel. And the new tau is a participial morpheme. But the thing about the participial construction is that you have a verbal construction, the verbal system, tagged with a case ending, with a noun system. So you have the two things right up in the center. So you have morphemes that would showcase the participial constructions. And then omicron tau, new tau, and stuff like that. Mena, mene, huia, usa. Own nominative construction. You see it in how own. And so the case ending is with this. So it's kind of tricky. You have to know the both. Legante is saying, that's a participle, is continuous. Saying, okay, Athena, who, thelo, will I. Thelo means will I. Will I apastele, send. That's in the third person, as a matter of fact. Who will I send? And Greek word kai, who, tis, thele, will hupago for dia us, and is hemas. That's in the from the paradigm from the first person pronoun plural part of the paradigm. Hemes, hemon, hemin, hemas. This is accusative. Hemas. Okay, ego mu moime is a singular part of the paradigm, but hemes, hemon, hemin, hemas, and that's a plural part of the paradigm. So, and I think you have the word ago in here in hupage, and which is third person, as a matter of fact. Hupago, hupage, hupage, like that. You understand what I'm saying? Hupage. You have the word ago in here. It's just like let us go from here. I think in the New Testament, either like, I don't know, chapter 14 or 15 or whatever, ends with let's go. Jesus saying, let us depart from here. That's the word ago in there, with some other neat things. Hupage will go for us humas. Then tate, okay, epa, said, behold, and this is an imperative, idu, behold, apastelan, send me. Apastelan, send me. Me is from the ego paradigm. Send me. Now, the us here is not lanu. That's Hebrew. Okay, for us is Hebrew. Lanu. That's easy. Nu means us in Hebrew. But in the Greek Septuagint here, hemas is doing the same thing that Hamon did. You understand? In our image and our likeness, found and recorded in verse 26 of chapter 1 of Genesis. And I have to leave, guys. Hemas is the same thing. It's showcasing the word us. Is a plural pronoun, a first person plural pronoun. So you have hemas, you have hemon sprinkled in there, and then you have men sprinkled in there. Sometimes you see it in verse 7 of chapter what's the kata? What is it? Kata bomen in this Greek Septuagint. Kata bomen for let us go down. Us is the personal ending. The primary act of personal ending men is doing a job of us. So you have Hamon doing it, Hamas doing it, men doing it. So you have a whole bunch of stuff sprinkled with the us deal in the Greek Septuagint. You understand? But I have to go. Now, stay tuned for sort of review of everything. I think after I look at Zechariah, chapter 2, verses 8 and 9, in Hebrew, probably verses 12 and 13, but I have to check that out. In physical Bibles, you see sometimes in verses 12 and 13, Jehovah sent Jehovah. And also I want to look at Psalm 110. You understand? Sometimes in Greek Septuagint, it's Psalm 109, saying, the Lord said unto my Lord. Now, I just want to say right off the bat, if Jehovah's Witnesses say, well, why isn't it, why does it say my Lord? Well, he's a Redeemer. He's the Redeemer. That's why it says my Lord. It's no difference. The Lord said unto my Lord, Yahweh said to Adonai, my Lord. My Lord statement doesn't lessen him being Lord. It just means he's a personal Lord. He has to do with redemption. Okay, he has to do with redemption. That's why it says my Lord. But we'll look at that in our next study. Okay, our next part. Upcoming now will be, God willing, a look at Zechariah chapter 2, verses 8 and 9. Thank you.